Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And I thought tonight's Raw was a decent show. Wasn't bad, but it was a decent show. I really enjoyed some of the stuff on here. We had some decently good matches. You still have some bullshit on there on the show, but all in all, it was a decent show. Like I said, wasn't bad. Uh, and we had two decently good Raws, tonight and last week, which I liked also. But the show opened with Roman Reigns coming out. The crowd was booing him. He was saying to the crowd, he's like, you might like this. You might like, what I'm going to say. And he talks about last week when Samoa Joe put the coquina clutch on him, and Braun Strowman coming back, and he's there. He accepts Strowman's challenge at Great Balls of Fire for the ambulance match, and when he said, and then Roman says when he's done with Braun, he's gonna put him in the ambulance, at Great Balls of Fire and take him to hell because it's his yard now. And we see an ambulance come out. Roman goes to it. He walks up the ramp to the ambulance. He opens it thinking Strowman's in there, but he's really not. And then Strowman just attacks Roman from behind, tosses Roman on the stage like a rag doll. Roman comes back and he tries to go for a Superman punch to Strowman, but Strowman blocks it. And then Strowman just throws Roman on the side of the ambulance like a rag doll. He then tosses Roman into the ambulance, and he shuts the door. He shuts the ambulance door, and the ambulance takes off. So it was a good opening segment. Really enjoyed it. Strowman just tossing Roman around. I said I'm really enjoying this feud between Roman and Strowman. So, but yeah, it was a good opening segment. And then we have the first match. It was Finn Balor and the Hardy Boyz versus Cesaro, Sheamus, and Elias Samson. And this was a good match. Like I said, anything with the Hardy Boyz is entertaining. They would tag team with Finn Balor. Of course, this was a 6-man tag. We've been seeing a lot of 6-man tags for the past Raws, but it was very entertaining. You had Jeff Hardy come off the top, and he landed outside, onto Cesaro, which was awesome to see. And then in the end, you had Finn Balor hitting the coup de grace on Cesaro to score the win for him and the Hardys. Finn and the Hardys. So it was a good match, a very entertaining match. Like I said, if it has the Hardys, it's going to be entertaining. And then after that, we had Goldust cutting the promo about the Shattered Truth, saying that it's tonight, and he says that R-Truth is nervous, and Goldust tells R-Truth to bring his A game. Cool promo. Really like seeing these Goldust promos. So, and then after that, we had Paul Heyman being interviewed about Brock Lesnar being on Raw tonight, and to call out, and he calls out Samoa Joe for a fight. Samoa Joe comes from behind. Heyman, and he tells Heyman that the Coquina Clutch will be on Lesnar. So it was a short interview with Heyman, and then we saw Kurt Angle. He had the spinning thing where just to the lottery thing, when they do the draft lottery, they have that spinning thing, and Bayley was there, and she was there to choose what number she will enter in the Gauntlet match, because this is the first. They made history tonight with the first ever women's Gauntlet match. So we had that. So we saw Bayley, choosing what her number of what she'll enter in the Gauntlet match. And then we had quite possibly the worst segment of the night here. We had Miz and Maurice coming out for Miz TV. His guests were the Ball family, Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball, pretty much basically the Ball family. From what I heard, Lonzo Ball was like the second pick to come to the Lakers. I think it was. I don't follow basketball though, because I'm not, I'm not a basketball fan. Although I do for some reason love playing the NBA 2K games on Xbox One. So, but I'm not a huge basketball fan. And it was pretty boring segment, possibly the worst segment of the night, where it's just Miz saying to them that they are here to announce a partnership between Miz and the Balls, just basically him sucking up to the Ball family. And then you have LeVar tell Miz that he's not the type for them, and they're just bickering back and forth. I didn't even care for this segment. Dean Ambrose came out, talked a little bit. So it was the worst segment of the night in my opinion. So moving on. The next match was another 6-man tag match. Was Miz, Curt, Axel, and Bo Dallas. His entourage. Axel and Bo Dallas are part of Miz's entourage, versus Ambrose, Heath, Slater, and Rhyno. Okay match. It was a decent match. Just back and forth between all of them. You had Ambrose, Slater, and Rhyno pretty much, taking out Curtis, Axel, Bo Dallas, and Miz. But in the end, Miz, Curtis, Axel, and Bo Dallas got the win by, because Bo Dallas ended up pinning Rhyno. So, all in all, it was a decent match. And then after that, we had Enzo coming out saying that he's not doing too good after last week, with the whole Big Cass, turn heel situation. Big Cass giving Enzo the big boot last week. And it felt really weird, seeing just Enzo come out, without Big Cass. It was very weird though. Although Big Cass still had, the song that him and Enzo have, with the Italian music, and you're soft to that, And then Enzo was saying, he was trying to contact Big Cass a lot last week, and he ends up calling out Big Cass. Big Cass comes out to a crowd of boos. Enzo says to Big Cass that the crowd reaction must hurt him, and he's talking about, oh, you always been my brother, we, as friends though, you always been my brother, and we, had good times together. And Enzo says to Big Cass that what Enzo did is in the past, and he said to Big Cass that he saw passion, emotion in Big Cass's face after what he did last week when Big Cass was cutting that promo to Enzo. And Big Cass wants Enzo to shake his hand and for Enzo to forgive him, and they end up shaking hands, which when that happens, it's either going to be good or it's going to be pretty much 95% end up being bad. And Big Cass hugs him, Big Cass hugs Enzo, and we think that they made up, which if that happened, that whole Big Cass turn heel thing that happened last week would have been pointless. But they both end up walking up the ramp, and then just Big Cass just takes out Enzo on the ramp on the stage. He then shouts to the crowd saying, "Oh, you want Enzo? You want Enzo?" And then Big Cass just picks up Enzo and throws him down the ramp, and the crowd is just booing him really loudly, getting a lot of heat. Big Cass is getting a lot of heat for doing that. But yeah, Big Cass, from him being a heel now, I think he's gonna really succeed as a heel. Enzo, I said this last week. Enzo is just gonna become, another jobber. He's headed to Jobberville. So, but we'll see what happens. I know I'm gonna call that because, they're probably gonna make Enzo go to Jobberville and be a jobber. So that's why I always call jobbers, jobber wrestlers. They're going to they're in Jobberville. So, but yeah, it was a pretty good segment with Enzo and Big Cass. And then when the show came back from commercial, we had Big Cass coming back out. He goes to Corey Graves, and he tells Graves that he should have kicked his ass because of what happened last week. Because Corey Graves showed the security video where Big Cass was just setting up, being attacked, and then Big Cass tells Graves to stay out of his business. And then he just walks off. So. And then after that, we had a pointless match. We had Seth Rollins versus Curt Hawkins. Any match with Curt Hawkins in it, you know how it's going to turn out. So Seth Rollins just won the match with the knee to Curt Hawkins. Hawkins tried to dominate Rollins, but ended up failing. Curt Hawkins, nothing but a jobber. He's just there to job. So then after the match, Bray Wyatt comes on, talks to Seth, about what's going to happen at Great Balls of Fire. Bray says he's gonna save Seth, and that he's inside Seth's mind. So yeah, all in all, pointless match between Rollins and Curt Hawkins. I say any match with that Hawkins is in, you know how it's going to end. Then after that, we saw Mickie James and Dana Brooke draw their entrances for the Gauntlet match. Then after that, we saw Sasha draw her entrance for the Gauntlet match. So. Then we went to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was in the ring. He says that Samoa Joe doesn't fear Lesnar, and Heyman says that Joe should start fearing Lesnar. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be one that people are gonna talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow morning around the water cooler talk." And he introduces Lesnar. Samoa Joe comes from behind, puts Lesnar in the coquina clutch. Lesnar's face was turning pink, and Lesnar was trying to get out of the coquina clutch. He was fighting back. He was hitting Joe into the screen where it said Great Balls of Fire 2 weeks away. He was trying to hit Joe into the screen, but Joe just kept having the coquina clutch locked onto Lesnar. Lesnar was just trying to fight back and put Joe into the screen, and then Joe just still had the coquina clutch on him. The refs were separating them, so it was a pretty good segment. I didn't expect Joe to come from behind. I thought they would just have a brawl that was in the ring like they did. Like they did a few weeks ago. And then we go to the next match. It was Neville versus Lince Dorado. This was okay. Wasn't great or perfect though. Akira Tozawa was down there ringside watching the match. Uh, you know, he's now part of Titus Worldwide because now it's not the Titus brand anymore. Now they said it's Titus Worldwide now. So, but Neville was pretty much dominating through the match against Lince Dorado, and Neville won the match with the Rings of Saturn. After the match, Akira Tozawa gets in the ring with Neville, and they trying to have a stare down. Titus ends up coming out saying that Akira and Neville will have a match for the Cruiserweight title at Great Balls of Fire, and that Akira might walk out with the Cruiserweight title for Titus Worldwide. So, although Neville versus Lince Dorado was okay, not great or perfect. Oh, and I forgot to mention during the Finn Balor, Hardy Boyz, Cesaro, Sheamus, Elias, Samson match, Josh Duhamel from Transformers, from the Transformer films, from the first to the third, and now this new one, Transformers Last Night came out. He was on commentary. Want to see Transformers the Last Night. Hopefully get to see that. No, it's gotten pretty mixed reviews, so I want to check it out. Then after that, after Neville versus Lince Dorado, we see Emma drawing her entrance for the Gauntlet match. Then Paul Heyman was being interviewed about his reaction to what happened with Samoa Joe and Lesnar. Heyman says that Lesnar will conquer Samoa Joe at Great Balls of Fire. Another short little interview with Heyman. Then we see Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss backstage. Alexa tells Nia that she has been judged so many times, and she thinks Nia is also being judged. Alexa wishes her good luck in the Gauntlet match. Nia tells Alexa that she doesn't need luck because at Great Balls of Fire, if she wins the Gauntlet match, she's coming after the Raw Women's title, and she just walks off. It was a pretty good backstage segment. And then it was the main event, which was the first ever women's Gauntlet match. The first match in the Gauntlet match, Bayley was the first person to come out. Then it was Nia Jax. So the first was Nia Jax versus Bayley. Another match where they completely bury Bayley. Just Nia Jax won the match with the Samoan drop to Bayley. So I hate, I said before, I hate seeing them bury Bayley like this. Bayley deserves so much better. And, this is coming from, a huge Bayley fan. So, I hate what they're doing with Bayley. And then, after Nia defeated Bayley, it was her versus Mickie James. She won that one. Nia Jax defeated Mickie James. And then she fought Dana Brooke next. She fought Dana Brooke. She won the match with the leg drop on Dana pretty quick. And at first I thought this Gauntlet match was going to be just Nia Jax just dominating. I thought it was going to be a pretty pointless match, though, because the next she fought Emma. She won the match, Nia Jax again. She defeated Emma with the Samoan drop to her. And at this point, I thought it was just going to be pointless. I thought, Nia was going to beat Sasha, because Sasha was the next one to fight Nia. And actually, this was pretty surprising. I'm not the biggest Sasha fan, not the hugest, but I have to say, I was rooting for Sasha uh, for this match, and yes, I will admit it. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of hers. So, but it was back and forth between Sasha and Nia. Uh, at some points where Nia was just dominating Sasha, Sasha just kept on running right into Nia, getting knocked down. But one point, Sasha locked the Banks statement on Nia. She got out of it, and then she at the end of the match she went back. Sasha put the Banks statement back on Nia. You know, Nia was just standing. She dropped to her knees. It was really entertaining seeing this. She dropped to her knees, and it looked like Nia didn't want to tap out. She just wanted to get a hold and see if she could break the Bank statement. But she was down. Nia was down to her knees, and then just from out of nowhere, Nia just taps out. So Sasha wins the match. Sasha is going to face Alexa for the Raw Women's title at Great Balls of Fire. And after the match, you had Kurt Angle coming out, you know, just congratulating Sasha. And then out comes Alexa Bliss. She gets in the ring. You know, they both have a stare down. Sasha ends up kicking her, and Sasha holds up the title. You know, she tries to give it back to Alexa, and she just takes it back, Sasha, and pretty much that ended the show. So, kind of glad that Sasha won the match. It wouldn't have made sense for you know, Alexa to face Nia because it's heel versus heel. So because they need, you know, a face. But I'm really happy for Sasha. Even though my pick has, you know, even though I like Alexa Bliss. Like I said, Alexa Bliss. She's my second favorite. She's my second favorite woman superstar next to Bayley. So, but it's tough who's gonna win the match at Great Balls of Fire. You know, either Sasha or Alexa. You know, pretty much probably they're gonna make Alexa retain the title at Great Balls of Fire, but who knows? We'll have to see at Great Balls of Fire what happens. And even though Great Balls of Fire, even though it's a stupid name, even though it's the dumbest pay-per-view name that they ever came up with, I say it's average. It's pretty much predicting to be a pretty average card, pretty average show probably on when it comes by. So yes, we'll have to wait, and we have to wait in 2 weeks to see what happens. So, but it's Great Balls of Fire, like I said, is pretty shaping up possibly to be a pretty average show. So, yes. Anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and until the next video, which will be my SmackDown review tomorrow night. We got the rematch for the Women's Money in the Bank match. That's going to be pretty good. Hopefully, Carmella regains the briefcase. But who, possibly somebody else might win it. You know, it could be Becky, it could be Natalya, Tamina. So we'll have to see tomorrow night on SmackDown. But my pick has to go for Carmella to regain the briefcase. So yeah. So until my review tomorrow night, I'll see you all later. And be sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all back tomorrow night for my SmackDown review. Bye.